So, folks, these are my top tips with regards to probability questions. Probability questions, again, folks, lots of practice makes perfect. Don't forget that. I keep saying it and I'll say it again unashamedly. You must practice, all right? Again, go back to basics if you need to. It's not a waste of time to actually engage in some basic probabilities. Go back to your textbooks, go back to the work you did at school, and understand probability from the basics, and it really helps, believe me. Don't try and do a patch-up job. Go back to basics if you need to. Now, when you look at these questions, right, first thing to think about is numbers. Okay, so don't get too hung up on the scenario, because sometimes they put these questions into a scenario. So, okay, a spotty duck and a not so spotty duck and a few not spotty ducks at all are in a race, and they're waving at their owners and they're waving at their kids and they're having a race with each other, and the weather is nice and sunny, blah blah blah. Don't get lost in the scenario itself, okay, too much, because with probability what matters the most is numbers. Okay, so how many spotty ducks actually pass the line compared to the not so spotty ducks, or compared to the no spot ducks. And if say 5 of them got through, 5 out of 6 got through compared to 2 out of 6 of the others, all right, then how many have got through together, or perhaps one at the expense of the other? Look at the numbers. Make sure you can interpret the numbers well and fit them into doing probability questions. Otherwise, believe me, the scenario can sometimes get in the way. Another kind of, it's like needle in a haystack situation. I get that feel with some of these scenarios. It can distract you from the business of the day. So have a think about that. Also, people do this. I find it quite annoying, to be honest. People, I find, sometimes give the aesthetic answer, or give an answer that they feel might be the right one because somehow it looks right. Okay, so I mean, one that comes to mind is the throwing the die, throwing die, and when and the question something like the number 4 out of 6 has 2 chances of coming up. The probability of that is twice as much as any other number. And I get annoyed when people just think, oh, it's the numbers something over 6 times something over 6 or something like that. Well, what they've forgotten is that actually that can be something over 7, because the face of 4 can have 2 chances of coming up compared to the others, you see. So people can sometimes forget that, and I just find it a bit, what shall I say, it's sometimes a bit annoying when that happens. So be careful. Don't get caught out in silly things like that, really. Silly mistakes, in my opinion. Be careful as well when it comes to addition, multiplication. What does it mean? Like if it's a 1/6 probability and 1/6 probability, what's the chances of that happening and that happening together? Do I multiply that or do I add that? Make sure you don't get that mixed up, because in probability you've got to understand the rules, you see. Otherwise you'll make these common mistakes that people do, because how you do probability calculations are important to know. All right, so make sure the basics are right. Now, another thing as well, which again can be annoying, because it boils down to what shall I say, simple arithmetics, really, and simple discipline, or understanding units and so forth. So people tend to mix up conversion of a meter to centimeters, or centimeters to millimeters, or milliliters to liters, to things like that, which are so easily managed, really, if you just think about it. Okay, so just try not to get fall into that trap. Okay, and again, last but not least, the whiteboard. They've given you something to use. They've given you pen. All right, use it. I love doing this, where you draw the V and put a probability there and a probability there, so that pictorially I can see what I'm doing. All right, so the chances of Mrs. Smith having cancer is 2/3, not having cancer therefore is 1/3. The chances of Mrs. Smith's mum having the cancer is 2/5 versus 1/5 of not having it. So, and then what you can do is like, okay, so what are the chances of these two people not having cancer? So you know which one to bring together, as opposed to, so people bring the wrong ones together, you see. So use the whiteboard, use pen and paper. All right, it's useful to do that. Okay.